Good morning, I'm Tips Mahoy and this is ArthIntel Morning Edition. Coming up, Cuba plunges into darkness as electric grid collapses. Washington state wildfires force 60,000 people to evacuate homes. Aung San Suu Kyi appears healthy in first confirmed outside contact for 2.5 years. That plus a check of the weather across the country. Cuba's electricity grid collapsed late Sunday, according to the state-owned grid operator, plunging the island's roughly 10 million people into darkness. It's the latest in a string of blackouts, following 3 nationwide outages in July, as Cuba struggles to secure fuel imports. The crisis has been compounded by a U.S.-imposed oil blockade, which cut off Cuba's key fuel supply from Venezuela after Washington's ouster of President Nicolas Maduro in January, with fuel imports from Mexico also halted amid U.S. pressure. In response, Havana has authorized its first foreign-backed fuel import venture and allowed nearly 200 Cuban businesses to take part in wholesale fuel distribution. Wildfires raging around Spokane, Washington have forced roughly 60,000 people to evacuate, according to Spokane Mayor Lisa Brown. 3 major blazes remain uncontained, destroying around 600 homes and businesses and cutting power to more than 10,000 customers. Mayor Brown called it the worst natural disaster our region has faced, and said officials are still assessing whether any lives were lost, though no deaths or injuries have been confirmed. Washington Governor Bob Ferguson has declared a statewide emergency and requested federal assistance, as forecasters warn temperatures could rise again later this week. Detained Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been allowed to meet a delegation from the International Committee of the Red Cross, in her first confirmed outside contact in 2.5 years. Photographs released by the military government show her looking relaxed and well, though no details of her health or what was discussed have been given. Suu Kyi, 81, was detained after the 2021 military coup and sentenced to 33 years in jail on charges widely viewed as trumped-up, with her sentence since reduced and her status changed to house arrest. Her son, Kim Aris, who has campaigned internationally for proof of life, welcomed the meeting as the first positive development for his mother in more than 5 years, saying, "This may be a first step, but it must not be the last." Romania is home to Europe's largest brown bear population outside Russia, with the Environment Ministry estimating between 10,000 and 13,000 bears in the country, based on a preliminary DNA study. Officials say nearly 30 people have been killed by bears there over the last 2 decades, as urban expansion and climate change push the animals into towns and cities in search of food. In April, lawmakers doubled the annual hunting quota to nearly 900 bears for this year, and next in an effort to prevent further attacks, a move that drew sharp criticism from wildlife experts and conservationists. Reuters reports authorities are also struggling to enforce rules against tourists feeding bears, despite prohibitions and fines. ArthIntel Headline News is brought to you in part by Toolbox Development, AI web development and marketing. Learn more at toolboxdevelopment.net. We'll be right back. Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger has restored full voting rights to 66,000 people with past felony convictions. In a press release Friday, Spanberger called the right to vote foundational to who we are as Americans and described the state's felony disenfranchisement law as a shameful relic of our Jim Crow past. The restored rights include voting, jury service, running for public office, and becoming a notary public. This autumn, Virginia voters will decide a referendum that could automatically restore voting rights to all felons immediately upon release from prison, which Spanberger says she hopes they will approve. A new poll from the Public Sentiment Institute shows trouble ahead for 2 of the Democratic Party's biggest names. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg leads the 2028 field with 24.2%, followed by Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff and New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. California Governor Gavin Newsom placed 4th at 10%, while former Vice President Kamala Harris trailed in 5th with just 5.1%, a stark reversal from a June poll that had Harris leading at 27% and Newsom in 2nd at 14%. Despite the poll numbers, betting markets Polymarket and Kalshi still give Newsom the best odds of winning the nomination, and none of the top 5 contenders have confirmed a 2028 run. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, Jr., and CNN's Dana Bash clashed sharply during a 21-minute interview on State of the Union Sunday. Bash pressed Kennedy on his push to scale back the childhood vaccine schedule, and on why he continues to link vaccines to autism, a claim the article notes has been disproven in multiple studies. Kennedy accused Bash of behaving like a parrot and talking nonsense, while Bash shot back after he said she probably wouldn't understand the science because she's not a scientist. CNN says Kennedy told Bash he supports parents vaccinating children against measles, and the network says it stands behind her reporting. ArthIntel Headline News is brought to you in part by Toolbox Development, AI web development and marketing. Learn more at toolboxdevelopment.net. We'll be right back. ESPN research says 28 teams currently have at least a 10% chance of reaching this season's college football playoff. Under the 12-team format, every Power 4 conference champion is guaranteed a spot, and Notre Dame earns an automatic bid if it finishes in the top 12. ESPN Analytics gives Ohio State the best odds to make the field at nearly 76%, followed closely by Notre Dame and Texas. Coaches disagree on just how deep the true contender pool runs. Alabama's Kalen DeBoer says at least 10 teams, while South Carolina's Shane Beamer puts the number as high as 15 to 20. This year's NBA free agency has been unusually quiet on player movement, but explosive on the trade front. Only 35 free agents switched teams this summer, with 75% of players staying put, largely because just 3 teams, Brooklyn, Chicago, and the Lakers, had cap space, and more players are locking in guaranteed money through extensions. Donovan Mitchell, for instance, took a 4-year, $272 million extension in Cleveland rather than risk waiting for a bigger deal next summer. Meanwhile, trades have surged, with 40 players moved this offseason, including stars like Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, and Ja Morant. The New York Yankees have made a splash ahead of Monday's trade deadline, acquiring breakout first baseman Lewis Garcia Jr. from the Washington Nationals. In return, the Nationals receive 4 right-handed pitchers, Major League relievers Jake Bird and Yavani Cruz, along with Double-A arms Ben Grable and Jack Sebert. The 26-year-old Garcia, a New York native, has slugged a career-high 23 home runs this season and remains under team control through 2027. The Yankees, whose offense has struggled since June, averaging under 4 runs a game, are banking on Garcia's left-handed power playing well at Yankee Stadium. Amid the intensity of Bengal's training camp, an unlikely bonding tool has emerged: a chessboard. Center Ted Karras brought it into the locker room after adding a table for the offensive line, and it quickly drew a crowd, including quarterback Joe Burrow, who teammates say still holds the locker room's top chess ranking. Tight end Eric All Jr., who calls himself one of the best players in the room, says the games are less about the moves and more about bringing guys together ahead of a season where Cincinnati is hoping to end a 3-year playoff drought. Karras says he'll add more games like Catton as the season goes on, but plans to keep them out of sight on the toughest practice days. ArthIntel Headline News is brought to you in part by Toolbox Development, AI web development and marketing. Learn more at toolboxdevelopment.net. We'll be right back. And finally, here's a look at temperatures across the country right now. It's hottest in Phoenix at 95 degrees, while Seattle is the coolest spot on the board this morning at 51. That's ArthIntel Morning Edition for now, 11 stories coast to coast. I'm Tips Mahoy for ArthIntel, signal over noise. For deeper coverage and breaking headlines, head over to arthintel.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay ahead of the news.